Hey guys, welcome to our gathering of neurodivergent individuals. We have autism here, we have ADHD, and yeah, we're just here to talk about the things that we go through as neurodivergent individuals. Just kind of like to give people an idea of what this way of life or consciousness or whatever you want to call it is like, and the struggles that we tend to go through that people don't know, don't understand. We kind of do our very best when we're out, around people, and then a lot of us happen to need a lot of resting time or recuperation time, etc., etc. So we're gonna go ahead and introduce these beautiful ladies. We have Taylor. Hi, Taylor.
Hey, how are you?
And
Thanks
we
for
have,
having me on.
yes, you're welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful for both of you, and we 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 also have Amanda, and these beautiful ladies are shadow workers, like myself. And yeah, we've gone through what we've gone through, and from it we got gems of wisdom, as they say, to share with the world. Yeah, so here are our I guess our what we call this,
Our
our
experiences are,
experiences. Yeah.
yeah.
I guess who would like to start first? Which one of you ladies would like to start first? And just anything, basically.
You
Some
can
of
go
the
first.
difficulties.
Yeah, sure. I can totally do because I was taking notes. So because as a neurodivergent person, I lost my original list, of course. But don't worry, because I go over this in my head all the time.
Same.
Yeah. So I definitely always knew that I was different, thought different, like that my process was different, because I of course try to really kind of keep like that ego perspective of it. There's like there are other people like me, but I could tell that from the norm, from the mainstream, from like what I would witness as with other kids, that yeah, my process was very different. I was diagnosed ADHD when I was younger, which, through my experiences and kind of research, and also working with kids on the spectrum and understanding how the spectrum can show up, which I kind of just think ADHD is also just like an aspect of that. Definitely realized that there's probably more, like it goes a little bit deeper. But I really didn't figure any of this out until, well, that portion of it, until like 6 years ago, after my Kundalini awakening, man, is when all of my masks got stripped away, like, and I couldn't call on them. And so again, I didn't know I was masking, especially to that extent prior to that. And suddenly all of the symptoms and the things started to come up in the different ways that, like, yeah, that I said that I would mask things. And some of like a few things that I've like really noticed. One is I have trained myself to laugh when other people laugh, because I don't know what's funny usually, like, especially if it's like most people's sense of humor I don't really get. So like, but there'll be times where like my boyfriend will be like looking at something on his phone. Now I'm not even included, and he'll laugh and I go, ha. And he's like, you don't even know what it was. And I was like, I've just trained myself to laugh when other people do, so I look like I'm like included. Um, Another thing is I really have a hard time with sarcasm. I don't understand. I take things very literally. And even if and I like, actually, me and my boyfriend were just talking about this last night, because even if I consciously know that that person is joking with me, the responses that my brain pulls up, though, are as if they weren't joking, right? Like, so it's like, so that's why it's like, and it's really interesting, because again, when I can mask, and it really is actually been more around like certain circumstances now. Granted, I might be on like microdosing at the time. I didn't really consider that. Like, so there's certain circumstances where I do feel like I can be a little bit more witty and kind of tit for tat and joke around people. But like, that's like, yeah, when I'm really able to be in my like human costume, and like, and so it's interesting that I like have the capacity for this, like, but like when I'm just being myself, I don't. It's almost like, very literal, kind of just different definitions in my psyche, where I can completely be one entirely different person that understands sarcasm, that can do the things. And as long as that mask is on, I can do it. But so I found that to be pretty interesting. Well, and we were just talking about too before we kind of started recording that like one of the things I struggle with the most is not being able to do anything that I don't want to do. And like when I don't like to use the word can't, I use that word very loosely, but when I tell you I can't, which I'm sure you ladies can relate to, I fucking can't. Like I can't do it. There's not a connection where I'm like telling my body to get up and move and do the thing, and it won't do the thing. So it's been really
painful. It's too painful.
It is painful.
Unless it's like this is what I need to do. This is what like desire. Like this is where I'm at.
If I get why, even if it's something I don't necessarily want, I'm not in love with the idea of doing. If I have a clear understanding of why it is helpful, why it is important, then I can make myself do it. So I've been trying to kind of work backwards in the sense that rather trying to like focus on the habit or the thing, focus on the desire, which is like an internal thing. So like trying to create new habits and things by first cultivating the desire for it and kind of working backwards and like getting, whether it's like I got myself to go to the gym by visualizing every day for months what it was going to feel like to be healthy and in shape, and to the point where I was then excited for that experience because I visualized it for so long that then it was like, okay, now I can do this. And so things can take me a lot longer to do. My process is a lot longer to like get myself on the page. Processing in general for me is a lot. It's like interesting because I process so fast, yet there's so much coming at me for processing. I process slower. It's like I'm faster than most people processing, but slower at the same time. You know, like where it's like all coming in, but I have to digest it. It takes a second for me to digest, especially if I want to respond from the space I would like to respond from, which is like awareness, and you know what I mean? Yeah, so that's definitely, like I said, those are probably the biggest things. And of course, like all of that led to a whole lot of being really afraid most of my life that I was stupid, because like I am, you know, isn't that hard?
So sad. All this time, all those years, I just thought I was stupid and that I deserved less than people because I was worthless because I was fucking stupid. Not the case, turns out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it was like, I like knew it too. Like, cause I was like, there's no way I can be stupid. Like, there's no fucking way.
I knew it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, and then especially when it comes to like simple, if you quote unquote, like the human tasks, you know what I mean? Like, like that stuff does not like, I mean, you know, did you guys know that there's a right way to clean, supposedly? Like, I don't understand, you know what I mean? Like when people are like, you're not doing that right. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, no, like, what do you mean? There is no right way, period.
Single window. What does it matter?
Who cares?
It's maybe the way people
it gets clean. That's all that matters.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, like I said, those are definitely like the biggest ways for me. It's kind of shown up, and it's, you know, gets easier and easier to be able to, again, like I said, with the desires thing, like find ways to work with it. Cause I do believe that all of this is a gift, and that we're helping to create a world that is more sustainably built for people who think like us. Because I think, you know, the more kind of comes out, I think we're actually the majority, so much more than we're kind of made to believe, because there's so many people that don't talk about their symptoms or their things because of that same thing, because they feel stupid, because they don't want, you know, they don't want the label, you know. And so I feel like, honestly, yeah, you know, I feel like, so, you know, us talking about it, and then, like I said, changing the way that things are structured and being able to value doing what's in alignment for you. If we would all be allowed to do the things that we desire to do and like have the passion to do, we'd all be in alignment with our jobs, with our things, you know, like, and the world would function a lot smoother. But because we're taught we have to do all of these things that we quote unquote have to do, then we end up with all of these different mental health disorders and problems because of that fact that like we can't get ourselves on that page.
Yeah, 1000%.
Absolutely. All right. Taylor, do you wanna go, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I can go if you want.
Awesome.
So, I guess one of the biggest things for me, is getting started, like in the morning, like when I get up, I'm restless, but I'm tired at the same time. Does that make sense? Like my mind is like, all right, let's get up and go. But then my body's like, nope, we're going to be frozen in the bed for another hour or two. And I'm like, get up. And I'm like, literally in my head, I'm like, get up, get up, get up. And then my body's just like in the bed still. I'm like, why am I still laying here? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like time is such a huge like black hole in my life. Like, it's so hard to like get the right timing. Like, I'll think it's been like my concept of time is just fucked. Like, it's just like I'll think it has been like a month and it's been like 2 weeks, or like the vice versa. I'm like, okay, it's only been like 20 minutes and I've been working on something for like 2 hours, and I'm like, what is happening? You know, like, where is this time going? I don't understand. And paying attention while people are speaking is really hard for me. I think it's because like my brain is like moving so fast, so like I'm already like kind of predicting what they're gonna say in a sense, and so like my brain is like on to the next thing. And then there's also points where like I'm like trying really hard to just like focus on what someone's saying, and then like I just can't. And then so that's where that like laughter comes in too for me. Like I'll just go like, oh, hey, you know, like, or just like nod my head and say, yeah, like I understand what they're saying, and I'm just like, I have no fucking idea what they just said to me.
Totally.
Or like when someone gives me spoken directions, like I need written directions.
Yeah.
If somebody tries to speak directions, like, oh yeah, take a right at the stop sign and then take a left, and I'm like, I have no idea what you just said to me. Like, and then it makes me feel dumb, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening, you know? And they're like, you here? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. I think I'm here. But it's been interesting because I always, like you said, I always knew I was different and like my brain worked differently, but I've masked for so long that I didn't know that I had ADHD until about a year ago. And then I was working with a therapist, and she's like, has anyone ever told you you probably have ADHD? I'm like, no. I was like, but that would make a lot of things make a lot of sense. And then she's like, yeah, she's like, we're gonna test you for it and just like see. She's like, oh yeah. She's like, you are very ADHD. And I was like, this makes me feel a lot less dumb, because there would be moments where like I'm just so fucking forgetful, and like I would get so forgetful to the point where like I would like lock my keys inside my car, or like my boyfriend would be like, hey, do you have like the house key? And I'm like, oh yeah, I have the house key. And then I locked it inside the house, and we got there one time. We had like gone out one night, and I was like, oh, I have the house key here. And then I went to go unlock the door, and I didn't have it. He's like, you told me you had it. I'm like, I swear to God I had it. And he's like, you didn't check. I'm like, I knew I had it, and it's not here. He's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. And so like it made me really sad, because for a long time I just thought there was something like really wrong with me, and I'm like, why am I so forgetful? Like, why can't I do things the way that other people do things, you know? And so there's that, and I just learned how to just be super super organized, just to like overcompensate for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so
that's how I function.
Yeah, and so over
rub off on me, ladies.
Yeah. And
I haven't got that far.
And it's not like it's only organized in certain ways. It's like organized around, it's kind of like a chaotic organization, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But there's also like certain points where like everything will be messy, and then I get sick of it and I can't be around the mess, and I'm like, I need to clean this up right now, and I get like kind of frantic, and I'm like, what is this? How did I let this happen, you know? And then I'm like, and it's like, you know, fucking 10 o'clock at night, and me and my boyfriend are about to go to bed, and I'm like frantically picking up everything. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have to clean this right now or I'm gonna die. You know? And then I'm trying to think what else. Restless. No, I already said that. Masking. Oh, drinking water. For some reason, drinking water is like really fucking hard. Unless I'm like talking to people. For some reason, like if I'm sitting here like talking to people, like I can drink water all day, but if I'm by myself just like doing tasks, like if I'm like focusing on like, I don't know, just like working, I just forget that I'm supposed to eat or drink. I'm just like, oh, that's a thing. I forgot. I need that to stay alive, you know? And then I just forget about it.
The way I get around to that, because like we tend to forget. The way I get around that is because, you know, we have like a most important priorities list or whatever. That's at the very top of my priority. So it's like it's like, you know, certain things need to like leave the top of the priority. That's just a stays, you know, just it stays that way. Like Like, it's just one of those things, just like anything else, it's like a absolute priority, you know, like that's very top. Because otherwise,
one of the ways I have this lovely water bottle that has like the times. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but it has like the different times on the side. So it's like, all right, you should have drank this much water by 12 o'clock, and it's like 12 o'clock now. I'm like, shit, I didn't drink any of it, and I just chugged the whole thing.
Oh, yeah,
so that's been my like
yeah,
my remedy to that so far.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I think that's a huge reason why I do the crazy, because we talked about our water bottles before here too. So making it for me a ritual, like I make it magic, right? Like I have my tuning forks, so I tune it with emotional healing and physical healing. I have my crystals in it, and it like zings when you drink it, you know? So like, because I made it special, because I used to really struggle with drinking water too, not even just like out of forgetfulness, but like just didn't want it, you know, even though like I do want it. So once I was able to make it like a magical fun thing, now I'm like excited again, that desire comes into play. Ooh, where's my water? Like, you know, and it's just like more fun that way.
And it's the same thing, you're putting at the very top of the that's why you're able, part of why it's happening. Like you're making it magical, but the whole magical thing, it
makes it a priority, right? 100%.
The things that like the things that are absolute like things that I need to have done or whatever, they're the very top. That there's only a few. Everything else will be put into, because same thing, I forget everything all the time. I'll put in my phone. Everything is in my phone, whether it's no matter how small it is, it will be in my scheduler, whatever. And then let's say the next day I don't want to have anything to do with my, like, you know, looking at my schedule or whatever. I'll just move things over to, like, you know, the next day or even next week, sometimes even several months down the road, where it's like, well, I don't feel like I need to read this article for a really, really long time, but it's still in my schedule, not to be forgotten. Let's say a year down the road or whatever. So like everything is in my schedule. And then at some point during the day, I'll either remember, or it's in my schedule that I have something going on. And then I'll put, like, you know, like an alarm for like whatever, like 5 minutes or half an hour before that thing. Then like basically like everything is just kind of, everything reminds me, whatever, like, if a thought comes up, so I'm not ruminating over it, I'm emptying my head by putting in the scheduler, you know, just like simplifying, organizing, just like, but the very main things like water and food, they're up there. And that's like, not to say I never forget, because I do.
One of the things that's helped me so far with that has been intermittent fasting. So I'm like, you know what, why don't I just intentionally fast, and then it solves the problem. And then by the time it's 12 o'clock when I'm supposed to eat, I'm like, oh, I'm actually hungry, and like I'm thinking about food now.
Exactly.
And so that's been like one of the things that's helped me a lot with like eating and drinking and stuff.
Yes, because that again, it kind of comes back to like doing what comes naturally for you. And also, like, so for me, human design helped me with that too, because like it kind of goes into our different eating, like our optimal digestion style and pattern, and so it made perfect sense for me that like I am not hungry until at least noon. Sometimes it's later than that, you know, and when I'm hungry, I get the cue to eat. And so I'm somebody who, like, I get hungry around like noon, 1 o'clock, and then usually around like 1, and I give myself to 8 p.m. and that's about it. But then what's also nice is I feel like I can allow myself to eat whatever I want, you know, like I don't, and like that just helps so much. It's kind of like allowing myself to eat how it comes naturally to me. So now I don't forget, like you said, I'm like intentionally fasting, you know what I mean? And then, you know, kind of same thing, kind of like eliminating, because I used to drink like sugary drinks between like coffee or tea in the morning, but like you said, like just doing it more intentionally and then waiting for the hunger cue. And some days I end up full on fasting, because it just is what my body like wants. And it's, and at that point, it's not even like forgetting, I'm just like doing what my body does naturally. And I definitely have to schedule, like I'm getting to the point with my scheduling app where I've got an alarm that goes off for me to water my plants. I've got an alarm that goes off for me to like brush my teeth some days, you know what I mean? Like, cause I'm just like, cause that's at least getting easier. It took me a minute to get to the point where I would put it all in a schedule, but now that I've used a schedule, like you said, it just it's nice to be able to empty my head. Like I've gotten good at creating the habit around like the minute there's a thing that comes up, even if it's something that I don't have to schedule, it's just like a possible want to do, I'll put it in my schedule or just to get it out of my head. And then, like you said, it's not like ruminating where I keep on coming back to it, or I'm like, because it allowed me to like stop worrying that I was gonna forget things. That was the thing, is not only do you forget, I'm worried all the time that I'm gonna forget. You know what I mean? Which like isn't helpful at all either.
Yeah.
You could erase it at any point as well.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's exactly. 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll overlap things. Doesn't matter as long as it's in there. And then at that time I can look and be like, oh, right, that thing is going on. Or I could do that. Like I said, I schedule my breath work, because a lot of times the day will, just like with eating or drinking, the day will get busy and I'll just like forget, but I'm like, oh, I want to do it, but now I don't want to do it because it's nighttime and I'm just whatever the thing is.
Yeah. One of the things, like I can use a scheduler, but I can't schedule every single little thing in there, because I notice that stresses me out.
Okay.
So I usually do I'll schedule like the big things, like if I have a podcast, or I'll put like client meetings, or I'll put like I have to go take my cat on Friday to like get his worm shots or whatever. Yep. Like those kind of things I'll put in there. But I notice that if I start putting in like my daily routine and things like that, I'm like, I don't want to do it because I have to now.
That makes sense.
So what I started doing was like I do kind of more like I do pretty much no structure, like no structure. So I have like my structure things that I have to do at a certain time, if they're like punctual things. And then I just kind of let myself, I'm like, okay, this is the things that like I would like to get done this week. Yep. And if they happen, they happen. And if they fucking don't, they fucking don't. Absolutely. And it's been so much nicer that way for me.
Yes. There's an app called Minimalist, which is literally just a list app. So it's like good for like, but it has a widget on it. So the widget like sits up on, well, this is obviously if you have Apple, but so then it sits up at the top. And so that's the list that I use for things that like I can't necessarily like, okay, like I don't even know where my phone is, right? But like my breathing, I've got it in big letters up there. So it's like, so rather than like having to schedule the time around it in my calendar, I just big on my screen so I can like look at it. Right, remember to breathe. Or like I've got different ideas, right? Like I'm working on creating this nonprofit. And so when I like, there's something I need to do about that, like talk to the attorney, like I put that in there. So it's more like the reminder to do the things that, does that make sense? Like projects or whatever the things are, they're just kind of, then they're just like in my face, but there's not like stress, like you said, because then it's like not in my calendar. And then the calendar I'll use for things, like I said, even if I don't end up doing it, like there's like a sound healing thing on an event on Facebook, let's say, and I'll be like, yep, interested. So it adds it to my calendar so that I remember, because I'm not going to, so I do, like you said, I have to like, there's like a structure that's not structure. Like I've got it all there. I have it wrote out so I can see it. So I'm not overwhelmed trying to pull it up. But if I get to it or don't get to it, other than like clients that like, this is our time and you know what I mean? Whatever the thing is, the rest of it is like, I'm figuring it out as I go.
Yeah. Because one of the things that like, I used to be like a huge list person, write everything down. And I noticed that it was creating like a lot of shame within myself. Like it was like, oh, I haven't gotten all this stuff down on my list. That means I'm a failure. Or I haven't, you know what I mean? Like I have all this stuff and I scheduled all these things and I didn't keep these commitments. And now I feel really shitty about it. And so like, that's why I just got rid of lists altogether. Unless it's like stuff that I'm like actually like going to the store. I'm like this, I need to get these things at the store. Cause otherwise I'll fucking forget. But like, if it's stuff that like I want to do, then I'll do it. You know what I mean? At the right time. And I've kind of just let the universe, with the exception of like stuff that needs to be punctual or has like time, you know, right. I just kind of have let the universe like remind me, and it's been really nice. Like I was supposed to cancel my health insurance like, I don't know, fucking 2 months ago. And I was just like, well, it's not hurting anything because I'm not paying for it right now, so it's fine. And then they just sent me an email. They're like, oh, do you want to renew? I'm like, nope, cancel. And then it saved that whole stress. And so I've noticed that the less stress and the less lists that I've been putting on myself, the more the universe is just like, here's this reminder through the email. Like they're reaching out to you now. And it's been like this weird, like synchronistic thing. And I know that doesn't work for everybody, but that's just been like it, though. My process currently. And I'm
kind of there myself, actually. When it comes to a lot of stuff, I let, things will always remind you if they're important enough technically. But because I don't want to end up in the like, oh fuck, like sometimes things do slip by. So like I'll put stuff in my phone to like kind of get around to it or whatever. And I'll give myself the grace of like like if I can't do any of the stuff on the list except for the important shit, that's cool. I'll move next week. I'll do this. I'll do this. I feel you on the like, you know, like it's just like I remind myself, no, you're doing great. You're always get like you take care of what's important. Those other things you can move them over to whenever. You're good, babe. You know, you're good. You're good. Like no props.
Yeah. I dig that because it's that balance, right? So it's like, because that's the thing too, is I was noticing when I first started doing the list thing, that very same thing where I had all this, and because again, I've noticed too, when it comes to doing things, my black hole of time, not comprehending how long things take.
Yes, exactly.
I'll have like a list of 5 things and be like, oh my God, boom, I'll get that done.
I'll do all this right now, no problem.
No, right.
And then it's like,
right, I can only get 1 or 2 of those things done, and then I'd be disappointed. And so once I was like, recognize that was a thing, you know, I try to make lists that are more about helping me to remember what I can do in each moment. Because a lot of times, like, you ever like get that way where you got all these plans out, like you're like, I want to go to an apple orchard this weekend. I want to do like all of these amazing ideas. And then all of a sudden it's the weekend and you're like, duh. Like,
I don't want to do any of that.
I wanted to do, but I don't remember even what my ideas were, you know? So that's like, trying to just, because that's what I try to do too, like you said, Natasha, with the priorities is like, I like in the morning, I said, because I've got so many creative projects that I'm excited about and doing or whatever, it's like I make a list of all of the things I could do today if I wanted to, and then pick out which ones are like my biggest priorities or like, or the funnest sounding, even if it's like, you know, maybe this one will benefit me from, you know, but it's like, no, this one sounds really fun today. And then like kind of, you know, pick it out like that just to be able to like remind myself. But then what's nice too is like in the past, I used to make lists of like brush my teeth because I knew I'd do it, like just to make me feel accomplished. Like I was like really struggling with depression, you know, like I'd be like, okay, list of stuff I have to do today. Wake up. Boom, check, right?
Yeah, already did it.
Yeah. And then so I'd be like, oh, I did it. Like
depending on where we are in our journey, what we already have established as in like programmed into like naturally already do. If it's just to wake up and brush our teeth, that goes on the fucking schedule. As we grow and we're able to take on more and more and more and more, you know, those things we don't even need to put on the schedule any longer. Exactly. They become like, for example, at some point I did have to, you know, like I was struggling with brushing my teeth before I went to bed, and you know, it was just, at some point it just became, you know how they say like it takes a certain amount of time to build a habit. 21 days, some say 60 days, depending, I guess, on your perspective, whatever. But at some point it became natural where I couldn't not do it. But at first I couldn't get myself to the point of like, I was like, no.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to. Yeah, I used to be like that too. And especially when I used to wear like a lot of makeup, it would be like a chore to have to fucking wash my face and take all that makeup off at night. I'm like, I don't want to fucking do it. I'm just going to go to sleep in all my makeup. And then like, eventually I kind of just like had this talk with myself and I was like, listen, do you love yourself? And I was like, of course I love myself. And it's like, all right, well, if you love yourself, then why aren't you washing your makeup off at night? And it's just like having that gentle, it's like, you know, that's an act of self-love. And just like, it's a way of showing you that you actually love yourself. And I was like, you're fucking right. You're smart. Why don't I listen to you more often? And so like after I had that conversation, and I take that approach with a lot of stuff that I have to do, of like those basic human things like drinking water and eating food that seem like a fucking nuisance, I'm like, hey man, we love ourselves. This is how you show love to yourself. I'm like, okay, you're right. You're right. I have a lot of I have a lot of back and forth conversations with myself like that. And I think that helps a lot.
For sure.
All day. It's all about that conversation. Like I said, like that's how you get yourself as an ADHD person to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. Like I said, even down to doing chores, you know, I'd sit here and be doing the dishes and be just bitching and be like, this is not even mine, it's fucking Ethan's or my sister's, you know what I mean? And I'm like so pissed. And I was like, well, you're doing the dishes anyway, so do you want to enjoy it? Like, look, like, aren't you great? Like, because I, once upon a time, lived in a bus 45 minutes away from civilization, had to hike up a hill to get water, to boil the water, to do the dishes, right? I'm sitting here, and then I was like, you get a dishwasher. Like you have a dishwasher. That's incredible. And then I was like, I know, that's pretty fucking cool. And then so like you just switch the narrative, and now it's like it's not even some. And also with a time thing, I recognize in my mind when I think about doing a chore again, I think it's gonna be like fucking half hour out. Like I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so long. And then I do the dishes and it's not even 5 minutes. Like and I'm like, oh fuck. But like I have zero concept of how long things take or time at all. Same thing with like cleaning my room. I'm always like, okay, I like will schedule the whole day and like day to clean my room. And I put on some music and it's like 45 minutes. And I was like, well, at least you've got the rest of the day free.
Yeah.
Nice. It's really nice. It's very nice. So as far as organization goes, you guys, I feel like this is a really, really great conversation. And I'd like, even though we've spoken enough about it technically, I'd like to add one last thing. So yeah, as far as like I know, Amanda, you said that you had written something down on paper and you lost it. So my whole thing is everything goes in my notes on my phone, everything. That way, even if I was to lose my phone, it's still on my computer. You know, like just because like, you know, these are ideas that come up, and it'll be about, let's say podcast topics or podcast episode topics, or some other kind of creative thing, ideas. It would be just anything and everything. Just I have hundreds of lists, you guys. Because like, even if these ideas come to me and right now I don't want to do anything with them, at some point all I have to do, like let's say somebody comes to me and like, oh, blah blah blah, this topic, and I'm like, well, guess what, I have a lot of stuff to talk about, here we go. Or it's just like, okay, I wanted to work on this, I have all of this stuff already, you know. All about organization. I love that stuff.
I swear I'm gonna write a book solely just using the notes in my phone.
Yes.
Right?
Like, my notes on my phone, just you can just scroll for like 5 days and there's just so many Seriously, in there. Like,
it'll be half poetry, half grocery list, half baby names, then half random things. I love writing down either random thoughts that I have that are like stoner thoughts that are super trippy, or like whenever my boyfriend like messes up a word or something, you know what I mean? Like when people just have this, I just think that, to me, that is like the funniest thing, is when people like very confidently try to say something, and I'm so guilty of it. So we got all these I've got inside jokes in there. Yeah. So this book is going to be, but like literally just because, everything. And we will be like, it'll be like the middle of the night, we're like laying there, like trying to fall asleep. And I was now like pop up and be like, give me my phone. Cause like something good came to me. And I'm like, nope, gotta write this down.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's and then it's out of your mind too, because otherwise
that's my number. Well, I don't know what's number one. It's definitely at the top of the list. Yeah. Okay, so I have a list as well, you guys. I just kind of same thing in my notes, kind of just threw shit in, and you know, like, here it is, whether we talk about only a couple of these or whatever, you know. So something that is, I feel like, a big thing for us neurodivergent folks, especially I find people that are autistic, is naivety. However you pronounce that correctly. I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh my God. The amount of shit that I like got myself into because I just didn't know any better. I still find myself once in a while falling down that path or whatever. Just still, like, I'll even talk about in that same hour of, oh, I used to be naive, and then do some naive shit a couple of minutes later. It happens. And I mean,
I feel like some of that comes from just like wanting to believe that everybody's like good-hearted, or like seeing the best in people.
That's the thing. I feel like it's something about I think you guys know my idea that or theory that neurodivergent people are not off the earth. Which would mean it's a different dimension. So if it's higher than 3D, there is no stabbing each other in the back, etc., etc. So I feel like it's just where we come from. It's just, you know, we're just not used to that. Sorry for anybody that's listening that we went a little too, I don't know, airy fairy with us, but it's just this is not what we're used to.
Yeah.
This is not.
Even when I did drugs, even in that world, I mean, and that's why I feel like I got very lucky. I was very protected by like drug dealers that I would meet because it was so apparent, my naivety, and they'd be like, what are you doing here? Like, come here. And like, I got very, very protected and lucky. I really only had kind of like 2 dealers that looked out for me, because I'm like, here, I'd be like, just walking in the worst parts of town, just like, hey, I'm looking for heroin, you know, just like like no street, no, just nothing. And but yeah, because I was like, this is fine. I almost got sold into sex trafficking a couple of times. That spirit got me out of the situation just by being led in the situation, because and you know, and then, like I said, and that's definitely, but that's it has, in that sense, and it also bothered me in the sense that, like, with that and that being very perceived by people have always acted or felt like they've needed to protect me, which has always bothered me, because I'm always like, I don't need protection. And I get that it's like out of love, and it's not like they don't think that I'm weak. Oh my God, my cat is staring at me in the window. It just scared the shit out of me. She's just like, okay. so yeah, it's out of like love, and it's not like they think I'm weak. Like, I mean, I know that these are the same people that think I'm like the strongest person that there is, right? But yeah, no, it always bothered me because people were always very like always like, you know, protective, you know what I mean? And that's why I think a lot of my facade was like, I'm a tough girl. What are you look at me, I'm tough, even though I'm like the so opposite of the thing, you know what I mean? But I can definitely relate to the naivety and sex joke stuff. Oh my God, I don't know, like, do either of you understand when like somebody's trying to make something a sexual joke or sexual innuendo?
That no problem.
Oh, I don't get that.
Really? Oh yeah, I'm all about I love sexual innuendos. I think they're fucking hilarious.
I don't get it at all. My boyfriend thinks it's so fun, and I don't. Like, I am somebody who's very, very clearly subconsciously sexual, because I speak in a way that people think I'm speaking, but I'm like not. So I was a bartender, and I would just set myself up left and right all day.
We're all 3 of us bartenders, looks like. Oh shit.
It's definitely our field, I feel like.
It is. It is. Because we have the bar to protect us.
That's exactly that. I was in charge there, and I could do multiple things at one time, hold many conversations.
Organization was part of it.
Yeah. I will say that. Yeah, I will say though that right now I can never tell when somebody's looking at me sexually. Like I don't know if I've just tuned it out, but like me and my boyfriend will go to the gym. He's like, that dude just checked you out hard. Like, I'm like, really? I didn't see it. He's like, really? How'd you not see it? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I just tuned it out. And so there's like that aspect of it, like where I like just block out, like, I don't know if it's just because I can deeply feel people's intentions, so I just block them out unless, you know what I mean? So I just like don't notice that at all. And I'm like, that's kind of scary that I just didn't notice that. I don't know.
Nope, I could totally relate. I think that's something I blocked out a lot. It's like, even though it's like, I can't say that for sure is true, because I can feel it.
So yeah, I can feel it.
But it's like, I really like, if I'm tuning into it, right?
Yes,
like that's the thing, is like, I will block it all out. But now let's say I meet somebody and it's like, could we be friends? And then I tune into it to see. And then I'm like, oh no,
you're like, no,
not gonna work.
yeah.
No, it's not
yeah.
gonna,
Like
sorry.
if I'm having a conversation with someone and we're like talking, or like they're trying to approach me, then I can feel their intention right away. But if it's just like someone random like staring at me, like it's just like not there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's a good thing, because honestly, ladies, we're all very attractive, very powerful. It has nothing to even do with our looks. It's our resonance. If we were to feel all of the people that looked at us sexually, we would be distracted ourselves all the time. Because I don't even just get that from men. I get that from women. You know what I mean? And again, it has nothing to even do with our looks or sexuality. It is just like a resonance of power. And you know what I mean? Like, because the sexual energy is healing energy, and we're all healers, and you know what I mean, we're all very confident. But I think that's part of the reason why I've been less attuned to it. I also feel like when it comes to like going out, because like once upon a time my goal was to find a partner, so I was more attuned to who's sexually attracted. And now that's not like a part of like my goal at all, it's like that's not going to serve us to tune into. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good
Totally.
point.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's kind of turned off now. Because I feel like I did maybe notice it before, but now that I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I have my person. I don't need to fucking notice
Right,
that
exactly.
shit.
That's what, because it changed, it shifted a lot after I got together with Ethan, especially.
Mm,
Like I said, it was starting to kind of shift before that, in the sense that it was so not what I was looking for, even though I wasn't with a partner.
yeah.
But now it really agreed. Yeah, same. Like Ethan will pick up on that stuff, or we'll be at the gym, and I like none of it. I am like blinders on. I'm here to be at the gym. Like
Yep.
that's what I'm here for. This is my goal, you know. But yeah, definitely, I feel like it depends on, yeah, when I was trying to kind of sense who was into me or who I wanted to talk to,
Yeah.
you know, be it romantically or just even like a girl I could resonate with in conversation, you know, it was definitely like picking up on different things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Makes sense.
You know what I
You
just
guys
realized, guys? I don't know if we actually let people know what we're there or where we stand. Autistic here.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would say that I am autistic, ADHD, somewhere in the middle combination of both
Yeah.
yeah.
things.
I'm ADHD as far as I know. I'm sure there's a little
Yeah.
autism in there somewhere,
Yeah.
honestly.
You know,
Because
I
I
actually,
have a lot of like sensory issues. That's like
Yes.
another thing is like sensory issues. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, uh-huh, uh-huh. You know, I have a theory. Please nobody come for me.
Yeah.
This is just a theory. Don't come at me with pitchforks. But my theory is it's all motherfucking spectrum.
I
Mm-hmm.
think so too. Yeah, that's
Period.
why I said like somewhere on the spectrum.
So
Exactly.
it's like it's a spectrum, and then you have flavors, let's call them, of
Yep.
ADHD, of dyslexia, of Tourette's, of this, that, da 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 da. But
Yeah.
it's a motherfucking spectrum. They took off Asperger's off the, out of the DSM,
Yeah.
not calling it autism. I feel like they're all of this neurodivergent stuff. Again, don't shoot me,
Yeah,
guys.
it's
Don't
all
come at
the
me with
same.
pitchfork. It's a motherfucking spectrum. You're
Amen.
Yep.
neurodivergent.
Yes.
End of story.
Yes.
That's where.
Yeah,
Amen.
I love that.
When I've have fits, because I haven't had a fit in a while, this is where I started to really resonate more with the autism aspect of it. So I used to work with kids on the spectrum, and of course, as I'm learning about them and recognizing how much this can show up in ways that are very right, like initially I think of autism and I thought of my cousin who is very obviously autistic, right? And like, and you think of it just in that kind of way. And I'd heard of Asperger's, which I know we said, they're not using anymore, but that like, I figured could be a thing. But as I'm like learning anyways about all of this, these other symptoms, right, between like the stimming, like, like I am constantly, I mean, you'll see I'm literally moving this entire time, and people will say it all the time in my videos, is they're like, sit still, and I'm like, I can't, so different things like that. But the biggest thing I resonated with was the fits. Like I haven't had much recently. It depends on, it's like, it feels like I'm under attack, like when it happens. And it used to happen to me all the time when I was younger, where my emotions were too big for my body. It was too big for me to explain what was happening. And, like the rocking back and forth, like beating myself up. It feels sometimes like there's like a gargoyle in my shoulders. And so this is actually where I'll start to get Tourette's syndrome, where I'm like I start beating myself up, and I'm just like stuttering and like say, like, it's like, it's like I'm stuck in a loop, or there's something like, it's like, and it's all about sensory at that point. It's all about what I'm feeling and sensing and trying to explain. And at that point, I feel literally stuck in my body. Like I have no words to be able to describe what's happening. And like I said, and it's like, I feel like I'm under attack, but I don't necessarily like to use the whole spiritual warfare thing. I think that there's more here going on. I feel like everything within my being, because I am multiples and I have multiples, and me and Taylor actually kind of talked about this too on your show as well, that like, it's all here serving me. Just because this is an uncomfortable aspect and it feels like it's like, it's not. And my partner actually, like, I think that's really what made him be my person to me, was he's the first person I ever met besides my mom who could hold space for me in that space. Like, who, you know what I mean, would like hold me and rock me and be like, you know what I mean, and be able to like, and like coach me through it, rather than like being like, you're fucking crazy, what the fuck is going on, you know what I mean? And so once I started working with kids who have these same things, I was like, that's it, like that's what I do, like, because I have no idea. Like my mom's like thinking I'm possessed, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, that's not it either.
It's
so that was
being overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly. It just overwhelmed. And that was the thing too. I couldn't say in school, like, I was diagnosed as the bad girl. I got like expelled for truancy because I couldn't fucking be there because this thing would take over because I was so anxious and I feel everyone so intensely and I couldn't do it. And I lived across the street. So I'd literally just run like fight or flight IRL, you know, like I would get up out of the classroom and just bolt it. And like it was a run home, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's why, like I said, I definitely know ADHD was what I was diagnosed with, but there's so much sensory aspects and this whole other feeling portion, especially when I witness it more in a social construct now that I don't have the masks, where I'm like, oh, okay, there's probably some autism going on here. That's probably where all of these other symptoms are coming from.
Interesting that we got into the feeling and being overwhelmed, because that's literally the next thing that I have on the list. I have written down so much emotion, so much feeling. And it's funny, we talked about it here, and there was something actually, I guess we'll get back into it. Let me see. Oh, okay, you know what, here it is. So people talk about that people on the spectrum don't have empathy, which I fucking find really funny. So here's where I'm at with this.
Right.
If you're overwhelmed if you're always constantly overwhelmed, a person's body can go into a state of numbness, where not only are you not able to feel other people, you're not able to feel yourself either. So it's not like they're born without like being, normal or whatever, like with having normal emotions. It's so fucking overwhelming that shit was cut off. And depending on what kind of support you have as well, if you have like a narcissistic family structure,
it's gonna make it worse.
Of course you don't have the ability to feel yourself and other people. That shit's been cut the fuck out of you.
100%. I can totally relate, because when I was younger, I know I just straight up dissociate, and that was like I would just be just blank, just void of emotion. And as I've healed and as I've come into my body, that process has obviously gotten a lot better. For me, it still takes time to catch up. Like if I were to go through, let's say somebody passes away, in this moment, I'm going to be stoic. I'm not cold, but I just nothing. And then all of a sudden 3 weeks later, I might be like, oh shit, okay, here it comes. Like, you know what I mean? And it just comes out of nowhere. Now I don't judge that process. And now that I know what's happening, but of course, younger, pre-knowing what's going on, that's where, then you start combining diagnoses like manic and bipolar, right? That's where all of that comes in, because my feeling process, it just takes longer to catch up with my body than my conscious awareness of what's happening. So then you get diagnosed with all of these other emotional problems, when really it's just, like I said, it just takes a minute to catch up for me.
Processing, absolutely.
Processing is really hard sometimes. And one of the things, when you brought up like someone dying, I actually when my uncle died, was it last year? When my mom told me, I started laughing, and I was like, "This isn't funny. Like I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't understand." And she like I had to like leave the room to like.
It's processing.
And like my brain just processes things in like weird ways. Or like if I fuck something up and I make someone really angry, like I either get really scared or I like start laughing, and then they think I'm being disrespectful. I'm like, I swear, like I'm just like processing what's going on.
It's coping. It's just being so overwhelmed. Holy fuck, that is just like ha 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 ha.
Just like either I'm gonna cry or I'm gonna laugh. I don't know.
It's just like,
or just be numb.
No, exactly. Well, like, so also I've noticed like the tone of my voice and the sound of my voice. I can't talk in a way other than what I'm feeling, right? So like, so like if I'm like, okay, like I'm in an argument with my boyfriend, right? And I like I'm like in my mind, I am talking calm, like I'm like, but I am angry, so it doesn't sound that way. So it's like, when you're supposed to like, so it's like tricky, because I want to be able to like, I don't want to run from confrontation. Like I enjoy like challenging situations like that, but it's also like difficult to explain to people that, like, especially like at the volume of my voice, like I'm not yelling, it's just coming out this way, and I get trying everything I can. Like it's like I have zero control over it. If I'm in a heightened emotional state, I don't hear myself as loud. It's like I totally lose control over the volume of my voice or the tone of it. Like it just is.
My partner is also very ADHD, and that's one of the things that like we've had to overcome is because I'm very sensitive to like conflict and like confrontation, and like I'm always like confrontation makes me shut down, but he's the same way where like he thinks he's talking calmly, but like he sounds really fucking angry, and I'm like, you sound. He's like, I'm not that mad, and I'm like, it sounds like you're mad, and I'm scared. You know?
Yeah, like you sound like my
He's like,
partner.
yeah.
Yeah. He's like,
So it's like,
and I was like, I'm not even angry right now. I don't know why I sound like this.
yeah. So for us, it's like kind of like the reverse. So it's kind of interesting to hear your perspective on that, because then it makes me understand his reaction a little bit better to that.
Yeah, it is. It's challenging. I mean, me and my partner have just definitely gotten better, like knowing that, like to just, even if we feel capable of talking about it in that moment, if I can't control the volume of my voice, then we just have to take space for a second until I can. Because again, a lot of times what comes up, especially within relationships, isn't at all the situation at hand.
No,
like I'm not mad over the fact that you threw this thing away. It's reminding me of this thing from when I was a child that is, because I'll be like, I don't know where this is coming from. You just need to let me sit with that for a second. Like I consciously know this doesn't make any sense with the volume on my, and again, I really will think that I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean. I'm talking calmly. And he's like, you are not talking calmly.
Yeah.
Like, please go sit down.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like you said, like relationships they're mirrors for all the places that like we still like have healing to do that we thought we've healed, or like, that are still kind of buried underneath. And so it's like these little things that will like trigger the fuck out of us. And I'm like, this emotional reaction doesn't make sense for what just happened.
At all. And I know it consciously, but what the hell? Yeah, 100%.
Emotions don't make sense. It is what it is.
No, they don't make sense.
No, they don't make sense.
In a way, they're kind of like their own entities.
Yeah.
Like anger is its own thing, sadness is its own thing.
Yeah. I think of it like the movie emotions, and I kind of try to work with those as my different people. And it's because I was gonna say another thing, like ADHD and all that stuff in relationship, whether it is a romantic relationship or even friendships, or even what I noticed too is like, now that I've become super attuned and aware of my own tendencies and all of the different ways that this can show up for people, I find that I'm very good at holding space for other people's neurodivergency, because it all shows up so differently. But I get hurt or offended when people can't hold the same space for my neurodivergency. Even though they're neurodivergent. So I'm like, so it's like, I'm giving them credit because I can't, and you know what I mean? But I find that that's one of like the struggles with me and my partner is our stuff shows up totally differently. And I'm really good at being like, okay, this is just his neurodivergent. Maybe if I help try to make this fun for him, or I help try to make it be a thing, then we'll get it. But he will like be just hypercritical and be like, really, you've got to leave the ranch cap off. And I'm like, babe, like wasn't fucking there when I was doing it, and like, so yeah. So like I said, that's been challenging. Or just even I noticed it like with just people at work, right? Where it's like, I'm like, how do you not get that this is a symptom of the same thing that you have?
Yeah. I struggle with that a lot too. I've noticed that with just like other neurodivergent people, or just like me and my partner, like I feel like the same. It's like I feel like I'm holding space and I'm so understanding and blah blah blah, and then I feel like people aren't always receptive the same way. They're like, I don't see that as the neurodivergence. It's just like, why are you doing that? You're just not thinking about my feelings, or you're just not like, you know what I mean? And like I think we've gotten into a couple things where like I just went on some like neurodivergent tangent, or like we were supposed to do something and I got sucked into, and I went for like a walk that was supposed to be a 30-minute walk, and I was gone for 2 hours. Then like he felt really hurt by it, and I totally get why he felt hurt, because he felt forgotten. And I was like, I'm sorry, like blah blah. But I'm like, also like that's part of my ADHD, and like I didn't mean it, like and so it's like those things of like trying to navigate, like not coming off like an asshole, but also like I can't help it.
Right. Well, and kind of like you said earlier when you were talking about like with the house keys, right? Like I was known in every group of friend that I had for being that guy, right? Like, because whether it's showing up as house, like whatever the thing is, I'm knocking over a drink, I'm forgetting the key, I am just like, woo, like just mayhem on legs. You know what I mean? Even though I'm I'm not. That's just how my energy shows up. And so that was what I was like known for. So it would be really disheartening when I would do something like that. I'm already frustrated with myself, right?
Yes.
So then to like dig deeper rather than like in that moment make me feel secure with myself. Because if you make me feel secure with myself in this moment, there's a good chance it'll get better in the future versus
Yes.
digging. We're going to keep on digging right into this habit until it's even more ingrained in you. And so being able to kind of explain it to him in that way has definitely helped. Where at least now he's conscious of it. He still does it because it's like a knee-jerk reaction. But now I'm better, instead of like feeding it and being like, oh, you're right, I am stupid, that was dumb. I go, really? Not the time. Like, you know what I mean? And I just like, and then he's like, okay, yeah, you're right. That was uncalled for. Like there was no need to make you feel worse about something you were already doing, you know? And then, and you know, and it takes time to get to know, like, you know, the other person's quirks. I'm kind of, you know, was like that with him, with his different, like a cleaning style, even, if you will, right? Like, and just the way he approaches problems and different things is just like, to me, the long route. And like, and so like having to like not nag him and just like support him however he chooses to do it. And that's where like I said, the fun challenge comes in with the mirror stuff, because it's like, because it's the stuff we still judge ourselves for as neurodivergent, even though we've done a lot of work on it. When other people do the thing, like the procrastination or whatever the thing is, it bothers the fucking piss out of me. But it's because I still get annoyed with myself.
Yeah, it's like finding that balance.
Yeah, in all the things, for sure.
So one of the things had mentioned something about, you know, I think it was you, Taylor, like looking stoic, one of you ladies. Yeah, that's always been the way for the most part, the way I kind of react whenever something happens, especially if it's something extremely large, which actually, depending on the situation, has helped me. Because if something really serious, almost like life-threatening happens, I am all there and present. What's up? I'm here. You know, like I'm just really, really, really present. I think what's being put on hold is that shock of the I can't function, because I'm like, you know, like I'm just not dealing with the pain of it. Like at that moment, it's just put to the side for when I'm capable to deal with it. So it's just like, think of it however you want. Me not having emotion about it, that's not the case. It's just my brain is telling me this is not the time.
It's just on hold. It's just on hold. Just need a second to catch up. And you know, and so much of it too, I think people can say that we're void of empathy because of how blunt we can be to people, where we're trained to tiptoe around people's feelings. And the thing is, I just am not offended by the same thing people are offended by. So I don't know how to filter my own conversation like that to avoid hurting your feelings. And because you could say, I just don't get offended, you know? So like I said, unless it's like my boyfriend, like somebody who I have like a close, like an attachment with, where I care about what you think, different story. But 99% of the population, I don't care what anybody has to say. So that's where I think a lot of times people can think that we're void of empathy, because they're like, whoa, you said that thing that was really just like harsh and to the point, and whatever that you
you're being up. How dare you? What's wrong with you?
Exactly. And it's just like,
why are you not being fake? What's wrong with you?
Right. And I think it's like, like you said, it's like we just feel so intensely that our bodies and minds set spaces to do so that aren't necessarily always like, right. It's like I process something mentally first, right? Like, okay, somebody passed. All right. Okay. This is what, right, whatever. And then it's like my body creates a separate space for like my body to go through that process. And it's just like kind of just compartmentalized differently, you know? So that was one thing I always thought was weird about it, was the empathy thing.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. And to kind of piggyback off of that a little bit, since we're talking about like feelings and stuff, I don't know if you guys ever struggle with this, but like, my face, you can tell how I'm feeling about something by my facial expressions, and they're like real intense. Like my boyfriend's like, he'll ask me a question and I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, no, your face says it's not fine. Like, why are you making that face? I'm like, oh, am I making a face? I'm sorry.
I get like that as well, except that for the most part, unless I'm really close with you, you don't deserve to see what's in my face, so I mask. You will not, for the most part, you will not see where there's a lot going on. But for the most part, you'll see completely. everything's cool, everything's fine. It's just, something I've learned over the years to survive, like coming
Yes.
from a narcissistic home,
Yes.
but yeah, no, for the most, unless I'm close with you, yeah, you'll see all that too. No
Yeah.
problem. I want you to see all that. This is where I'm at. What's up?
Yeah. No, dude, I
Yeah.
almost got beat up in jail for this a few times. Like, cause I
Really?
like, oh my, cause yeah, I mean, there's nothing to really do but like kind of like sit there and like these girls would just be having these wild conversations, and I would just like pick up, and then I'd be like, and I'd just be staring at them like grossed out looking, and they'd be like, and I would just be in this trance of this like
Yeah.
this ridiculous story that I'm like, I'm not hearing this. And people, multiple times I was like, oh shit, I'm sorry. Like, or I remember in prison, like at the church, because I think I've gotten better. No, I mean, no, yeah, that's the thing that always gives me away. And I'm so excitable. So it's not even just my face, it's my body, it's the body, like it's all of it. Like,
Yeah.
and that's, yeah. And like I said, I'm not very good at like sugarcoating stuff to begin with. So like, I'm like, oh, it's fine. But I'll typically get that squeaky voice if I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm lying. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Squeaky.
And then another thing to kind of piggyback off that is like, I have a hard time, like, I just like to observe people, but sometimes I'll notice that I'm like staring at someone.
We
or like,
do.
and I'm just like, and my boyfriend's like, you're staring at that girl. I'm like, am I? I didn't even realize it. Like, I was just observing.
Yeah.
Not staring, I'm observing.
Yeah.
I totally feel that. Same.
Yeah.
I
can stare at everything too. It's not even just like, it's like, especially if I'm getting something, you know what I mean? Like my boyfriend all the time would be like, what are you thinking? And like, I hate that question, people, because I'm always like disassembling shadows and like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's like real deep.
How do I even answer this? Like, because whatever I'm doing in my head is like a 28-year-long conversation I've been having with myself, and it's just ongoing, and I don't know how to bring you in on this now. You know what I mean?
It's like there's a lot of catching up we'd have to do in order to bring you to this point right now.
Right, which is why I over-explain too, and I don't like this. I've heard the belief that like the over-explaining is because of like needing validation or something, like with a trauma response when you were younger, which in some cases I could see that being the case.
Yeah.
And there were most definitely, when I am triggered by not being understood, it is a trauma response. However, I see such a huge picture. So even the smallest of questions is a loaded question to me. I don't have the cliff notes for how to say what it, you know what I mean, is going on in like, so there's like, okay, so in order to really explain this to the best of my ability, I'm going to have to bring you in on the background of how we got there, and that's just how I explain things. And whether or not somebody can keep up or it makes sense to people just shows what people I meant to resonate with or not.
Right. Absolutely.
1000%.
So to kind of just to kind of go into same topic but slightly different side of it. So whenever let's say an autistic individual or a neurodivergent individual, so if they're more deep into themselves, where they like, I guess maybe I'm talking about more so autistic, when you're like deeper into being autistic, people are like, oh, there's no emotional empathy. But what if they're having such a hard time to where they can't deal with any of anybody's stuff? Like for an example would be, let's say anybody has the flu. Mm-hmm. You're inside yourself in your misery. Yeah. And people want you to acknowledge their emotions. Like that makes no sense. Right. Yeah. So like imagine you have the flu and this is how you live. Yeah. And then people are poking at you. Why are you not more responsive? Yo, I'm just trying to fucking breathe here. Right. Exactly. I'm just trying to put food in my mouth. If that's like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, 100%. Like, I'm sorry, people are not showing you the proper amount of empathy that you would like. It's not all about you though. We're lacking empathy here though.
And who knows how those feelings are actually showing up in their body? Because one thing I notice is I have a very hard time distinguishing what I'm feeling. Like it's like I know consciously, of course, like what happy, sad, and angry is, but those even go so much deeper and further. And so I've always had a very difficult time explaining to anybody what I'm feeling. Like, you know, like obviously, like again, like I said, I could very dramatic be like, I'm sad, but no, it's like it's grief and it's or like and like where it's coming from. And I feel things inside and outside of my body. It's not just like here, I can feel stuff over here and like, and like I said, there's so much things that I have no words to be able to put to. So it's not that I'm not feeling, it's that I can't even explain this in a way that you'd be able to understand, let alone in the way that I can understand. And so again, so it's like, who knows what's going on with them necessarily of maybe what they are experiencing is extreme anger or like, you know, resentment or whatever, but it's showing up in a way that looks different than what they see in other people. So they're not thinking that that's even what it is. That was always, like I said, the hard part for me is like, it just shows up differently than other people. So I didn't know what to label things or call things because it was like, I just like, it looked different. And then so I just was like, and I too again thought that I had like no emotion, you know, like even though then I'd have these fits, right, where it all like kind of come out of me and just like, you know, and it was like just but so I can definitely see why that is a stigma that is not real, but how it could come across that way to somebody who doesn't operate the way that you do. I could see why it could cross that way.
I think too a lot of it is to kind of go off that is like just feeling so much so deeply and not having the words to even put to it. Like it's like, how do I even like say that I'm feeling what you're feeling times 25, you know, like how do I, there's just nothing that you can say that would even explain the depth and dimensionality of the emotions that you feel.
100%.
That's so big. This body is so little compared to the emotions.
Your emotions are like out here and your body's like here.
Let alone trying to explain it to somebody and then what you run into is them trying to fix it or try like, and I'm like, and that just makes it so then I feel even more trapped inside myself. So I've just gotten like, you know, and like so my partner really works on it. My sister and me have, because we both need similar things, have gotten good at being like I just need to vent or I just like whatever the thing is. But you know what I mean? And like when I'll get these big emotions and if I try to like, you know, tell Ethan what's going on, and of course I'm be like he's trying to be like, you're okay, babe. It's I'm like, nope, just say nothing. Say nothing. Because I don't need you to fix it. There's not a problem. I'm just trying to do something different by maybe trying to express what's happening. And so, and like I said, that can take, it's a lot easier when you've got loved ones in your life in that capacity. If you have a conversation with them prior to these big emotions, letting them know that when I get these really big emotions of just like feeling attack or emotion, like just these intense releases, when I share with you, and I'll like sometimes I'll have like almost like a safety word, you know what I mean, where it's like if I say the word bananas, then like that means don't respond. I don't need anything other than your listening ears, you know what I mean? Just for you to be like, that must be really hard, just like to validate the emotion with me, you know what I mean? And if you had the conversation with them before, like I said, this is what me and my sister kind of did, and then of course like me and my partner have done, and my mom's kind of on that same page now too, where we've started to recognize that when we come to each other, I'll ask you for advice when that's what I want. Like I'll ask you for your help when that is what I want. But if I'm just sharing this big emotion to get it out of me, to have somebody to help me carry this load, I need you just to be like, to validate, just that sounds really hard. Like, can I help you? Like, let me know if you need anything, whatever the thing is. And that makes it a lot easier if you can just preface it by saying that.
Yeah. And I feel like most of the time that's what we want anyways when we're just trying to express emotions. We literally just want someone to like hear us. That's just it.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Hold the space.
Yep, exactly. 100%. Yep. Yeah, and like I said, so that's been, it's all a matter of just like figuring out how to communicate with the people in your life, especially once you really open yourself up to your neurodivergency and your needs and kind of playing with it. The more you can just stay open and communicating your discoveries, like bring other people in your life that you're close with a part of your process, right? Like everybody in my life knows now I don't make I need like at least 24 hours to make commitments. I don't really make plans. Everything has to be very touch and go based on how I feel. And, you know, again, like I said, when I'm feeling big, you know, I'll say support, or, you know, I just did support or whatever, however it is. I've got it worded differently with different people. So, you know, and like, or like if I'm going to have like like, I don't like to call them an attack because that sounds like I'm being like preyed upon, but like an integrate, like, you know, like where I'm just like shaking. I probably looks like I'm having a seizure, but I'm not. So if I'm having like I just go, something's happening. And then everybody knows that like, okay, I just have to like lay down wherever I'm at. I need to like lay down and just allow whatever to come through. Cause now it doesn't show up as an attack because I can allow it. Right. Like, so like I said, I've just gotten like, once I brought everybody else in on my process and what's going on, I can feel supported. I can feel it's easier for me to allow the process of whatever it is, but then it also opens up the door for other people who have different things going, like to know that they can do the same thing. If you just like share how it works for you, it opens the door for other people too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things like, oh, go ahead.
I feel like we need to like let people know that are in our lives, you know, if we don't, when we're feeling like that we don't want them to fix us, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like when you see somebody having a really hard time, I think this is across the board for really anybody.
Totally.
Altogether, when somebody's flipping out, the last thing they want you to do is like to solve fucking equations for them of how you should be better. Right now, I'm just trying to deal with what's going on. This is really like large energy moving through me. I don't need like equations. I just need space to be held for me. So I guess to make them aware if they're in our lives, you know, if there's somebody that doesn't, this isn't natural for them to just hold space and not try to fix, you know, just like let people know, hey, when shit is going down, I just need a space to be held. If I need advice at another time, or even at a time like this, let's say maybe I do need advice for whatever reason that's needed, I will let you know, hey, I need advice. Not you just giving me advice when I could barely manage the energy just pumping through me.
Yeah, right. 100%. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because it's like I'm not even there and thinking about it.
Yeah. One of the things that I struggle with a lot still with this is like letting people in on my processes and like being able to communicate it, because I feel like sometimes I just go through processes and my boyfriend's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to communicate this to you, you know?
Yeah. That part definitely takes time. I still feel like I'm working on it as I'm figuring out the processes, you know, but I feel like, I mean, for at least like 6 years, I've been actually paying attention to the processes, to what is going on, with the awareness of what it is now, and like you know, which also like helped me to see how it shows up for other people, you know. So it's definitely been a process within its own process of figuring out the process and being able to word it. And again, I think being in a relationship with another neurodivergent person helps, because by design, they do usually show up in opposite manners and ways for us to be able to learn how to communicate and to understand how it can show up for other people, because sometimes it can be very conflicting versions of neurodivergency, right? Like that's what me and my partner in so many ways have very like, my pet peeves are the way his show up, his pet peeves are the way that mine show up, you know. But that's of course very much so by design, because why is this thing even peeving me to begin with, you know? So that is a fun little challenge. And the more you just, I feel like, you know, and in so many ways, I haven't been able to find a lot of research that, well, and I never do. I'm not a researcher, to be honest. I'm just a channeler. So, so I, you know, I try to take a lot of notes. That's where like the coming full circle to the note thing. I just try to add these insights that I get about different processing things or whatever. I just try to take notes about, because I think in a lot of ways too, we're writing a new book on how this all looks and is and shows up, and defining it and how to work with it, because I feel like everything we've been taught about it is outdated and is following an agenda, you know what I mean, to make us feel small and to not step into and hone these powers that
we are the shamans of the world.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
neurodivergent individuals are.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, you were totally in a roll on this, but I just needed
No,
to.
girl, amen. No, you nailed it. That's it. We are the shamans. And so that's the thing is like, so yeah, keep that in mind. Like I said, well, that'll be our book. So we'll have a book on all of our notes.
This is why I'm doing this. This is,
Yeah,
I'm, here and there, I'll do a video with one other individual that's on a spectrum or just a neurodivergent. Again, my theory when that it's really a spectrum, whatever. But that's why I'm doing this. So all this information could be collected in video version, and then either people like ourselves could perhaps just like look at this as just like, oh wow, or people that want to know about the subject a little more, or people that are writing information about the subject. Hey, why not listen to people that not only live this life but think very deeply and are able to speak about it, communicate it. This is like, and just the whole thing of people not feeling like they're alone. That's another thing, very big for me. So the next thing that I wanted to cover was the subject of addiction. And Amanda, I know we'll get to what you do in a second, but so the way I view so addicts, homeless people, those to me are neurodivergent folks. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Totally.
Like they're just people just like, nope, no, I won't. And I can't.
Yeah.
Man, like that. No.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that this world is so fucking intense, and our emotions are so fucking big. So it's just like, whether it's this or whatever. So so Amanda, you have not only do you have experience with this is actually what you do for a living.
This is my favorite.
For you to talk about it.
Yes, this is my favorite. I overcame heroin addiction 8 years ago with the help of plant medicine and through this process, and most definitely, like I my addiction to begin with was just the tip of the iceberg, or the physical manifestation of what was going on underneath, that was a culmination of my neurodivergency, because it was my neurodivergency that got me labeled as the bad kid in school, right? So what does a bad kid do? Well, she shoots heroin, like I took that label and ran with it and believed in it, but it was because of my inability to get in line. I couldn't pay attention. I couldn't do homework. I couldn't be in school, that then I was labeled as a bad kid. Not only that, the way my energy shows up, I started doing drugs, and this isn't just heroin. I started doing drugs because everybody thought I was on drugs. So everybody thought I was on drugs. And so I was like, but I wasn't, because it's just how I show up. And so then I was like, well, fuck it, then I'm going to do drugs. Well, it turns out when I did drugs, everybody thought I was normal. So I was like, well, then there you go. So yeah, it was absolutely how I was able to mask. I didn't recognize until I got clean that I used to think I was really extroverted until I was like, I was just fucking high. I needed substances to be able to human and be around people. And that's what was able to, which is, why I kind of made the correlation. Sometimes when I can be sarcastic might actually be because I'm microdosing, because it just connects something differently where I'm able to get on that page. So I couldn't agree more, that I saw a world that I knew I saw differently than other people. I don't even want to say what was wrong with it, because of course it's all by design, but I don't ever really remember being asleep. And, especially with the opiate epidemic right now, that's the thing that I will tell you about opiates is so it represents the dark feminine energy and can be a very motherly energy, and which is why it's very comforting and soothing for somebody. I recognize when I did heroin, it was the first time I felt safe in my body ever. And so of course I would kill somebody. I would do anything to re-experience that feeling over and over again, which is why you can do some of these crazy things. But unless you understand that is literally some of the time that like I said, and I'm not the only one. The first time I did opiates, other things I did for the social aspect of it, because again, it made me appear normal. And then I finally felt like I belonged. And that's what the thing was, where with opiates, it was about I rather than becoming social with opiates, I retreated into myself because I just wanted to be alone with the safety that I felt, you know what I mean? And I find that to be so true with, I love the field. I'm a psychedelic integration coach that specializes in alternative recovery. And I really like to explore this with all of the people that I work with. And essentially my path to recovery is, it's not through sobriety necessarily. Like that's not our goal. The goal is freedom. And that includes then, freedom from the neurodivergency programming, freedom from the mental health programming, freedom from all of these conditionings and the ways that we have been taught that we are broken and limited, which keep us seeking things outside of ourselves for comfort. And once we can deal, because honestly, the problem isn't us, it's how we think about us. It's not us, it's not how we operate, it's how we think about how we operate and what we've been told about it. And when we can approach it from that perspective and work kind of like inside out, naturally we stop resonating with a lot of substances. Or like for me, like again, I said my goal is not sobriety. I still sit in ceremony with different shamans. I haven't gone deep, if you will, in about 3 years. I haven't needed to, but I'll microdose here and there, like because for me, I wanted, again, the freedom. To me, it feels way more powerful to be able to have a drink every once in a while, because I was told I'd never be able to do that, right? Like, I'd be able to be sober. That was what I could do. And that was my only option. But I was told I would never be able to have a healthy relationship with any of these experiences. And they were always going to control me, right? And so, and I, like I said, and I did that by honoring, what was really going on with the addiction, like stopping telling myself that I was broken and learning how to look at it and work with it as a gift. And then I help teach other people how to do the same thing. And so the cool thing is I've been able to recreate this, not only for myself, like I'm not special, like that we all have these abilities to, because even if I work with somebody who's not, maybe as sure of their own neurodivergencies as we are, as we work together, it comes out. And they're able to kind of be like, oh, that's what that is. Because again, there's still like this image that we think we know what it looks like, but turns out it can look so many different kinds of ways. So yeah, I think there's a strong correlation, because all of it, whether you want to call it addiction or mental illness, or you want to call it neurodivergency, or you want to call it being a psychic medium, because that's really what it all is, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, whether you want to call it an alien, whether you want to call it fairies, whether you want to call it angels, whether it's all the same, it's very, very similar, or same thing, not even just similar, it's all the same thing. And so I think that they do feed into one another, because it's like ultimately, like I said, I couldn't get in line, so I just believed what I was told I had to be, right, which was this bad girl. Like I said, everybody said I was on drugs, so might as well go do drugs. Everybody and I just, believed other people. And so, and I think that's what we see a lot of with that community.
I don't like that, the 12-step program where, you slip and, oh my God, you slipped. Oh, those 3 years down the drain. Calm down, everybody.
Yep.
Let's shame each other. Let's not shame each other.
Shame.
Yeah, so much
shit
shame
happens.
Yeah.
What is your goal? To take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like let's do the positive. My goal is to be good to myself. My goal is to take care of myself. Mm-hmm. I slipped.
Yep.
Like,
did you get a lesson from it?
Right. Yeah. Like really, it's not about the substance. It's about like our self-worth, or how, just like our feelings, how we feel, our wounds. Yeah. For me, it's what is the root of what's going on with you? Why do you feel like you need that drink? What is hurting you? Mm-hmm. Let's deal with the hurt. Let's deal with the pain. 100%. Let's say lack of self-worth. Okay, where does that come from? When was the first time you had that feeling? Go to somebody that understands this kind of work. Mm-hmm. Either do it yourself, which a lot of people are capable, especially people that are neurodivergent. They seem to be really good at this stuff, actually. But a lot of people do need assistance. It's just like, okay, where is this feeling? When was the first time you had this feeling? Let's feel this, let's transmute it, process it, so it could be integrated, and we could no longer have this feeling,
Yes.
which is what is calling out for these substances.
Yeah.
And then in this way, once those wounds are gone, it's not going to be just one wound, there's going to be several. Once these wounds are gone, guess what, you can have that motherfucking drink.
Yeah, right. It's your choice. Yeah.
You could have that fucking drink. You're because that's not what, it's not a crutch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because
exactly.
the wounds have been healed. We're like, oh, you're always an alcoholic. No, you're not.
Yeah.
See, I don't like that mentality either, where
horrible.
in the 12 step they're like, hey, I'm Taylor and I'm an alcoholic, even though I haven't drank in 3 fucking years, you know? It's like, why are you programming people to like keep that identity?
That's self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why people can have 20 years clean, get high one time, and be off to the races, rather than just being like, oh shit, that was a dumb mistake. You know what I mean? And not only, you know, it's like, if you, it's just become such a cult of personality. And I appreciate it for the help that it has given people. But, you know, like if you go to a meeting and you refuse to call yourself an alcoholic or addict, I mean, like the way that they shame you and put you down and make you feel you can't have any disagreeing or any misaligned beliefs. And that in and of itself is its own addiction. They're just trying to have this be your new crutch, where I, again, believe in freedom. I didn't want anything to control me. I didn't want anything, you know, to be dependent on anything. Although, again, like I said, I still used to, for instance, like tobacco, like I did a lot of work around this. And once upon a time, I know I was addicted to tobacco. Like the very thought of not having it made me like die inside. Right. But playing with it, dude, like I really am all about understanding, like use it, the relationship you have with it is showing you a relationship you have with yourself. And if you use it as a tool to ask yourself those questions and dig deeper, now it's like, I honestly would tell you, I smoke because I choose to. I don't care what anybody thinks about it. And but I'll have like a Vipassana where I can't smoke, no problem, you know, or I have a ritual. It doesn't control me, you know, like I'm not gonna it's just whether or not, you know, I just happen to also, I've always really liked taboo things. That's a part of who, as a shadow worker, you know, when I was trying to convince myself I needed to be this Puritan, like whatever vessel, and I was like just shaming myself and never living up to those standards. And once I let that go, I was like, but that's not actually how I see my higher self. That isn't what I see as me. Like I like the experiences that other people, that whatever people think about, who cares, you know, you get it, you know what I mean? Like I like that kind of stuff. So I'm not, you know, and maybe someday I won't, and maybe, you know, and I'm all open for it changing and stuff, but in the meantime, I don't resonate with being a vegan. I don't resonate with doing yoga. I don't, you know what I mean? They're just, you know, kundalini, I mean, aspects of it for sure, but like, and that's the thing too, is like, you know, in the 12-step kind of room, it's like their whole focus is on the substance and removing the substance, which then just but you're not doing any of the surface work. So whether you're whether that aspect, that addiction, that aspect of you is coming out in relationships or sex or like whatever the thing is, it's coming out somewhere, you know what I mean? And I really just believe in healing the wound.
Yeah, right. And what I like about what you do is like your whole aspect is like freedom, whereas like in other methods, it's like they're white knuckling for 3 years, and that substance is still controlling them, even though they're not taking
all the power. It's got all the
and
power.
It still has all the power over them. Versus like 100%. When you take that method of freedom and like getting down to the root cause of things, you don't have to like sit there and like not think about drinking like for the rest of your life. You know 100%. What I mean? It's like that total freedom versus like, you know.
Because that's the thing, is like people put the forever on it, and that's what stops people from even going a day. Just don't drink tomorrow. Just see what happens. It's all an experiment. You know what I mean? Let yourself have your entire human process, because right now it's serving you. Try to just make it, have a competition with yourself, you know, like said, okay, I'm just going to not drink this weekend and see what happens. If you do drink, okay. Like explain, like take the lesson from it, explore it. And this is why like my other philosophy is like, it's all about creation versus elimination. Unless that substance is like, could really, like, you're playing Russian roulette, right? Like if I'm working with somebody who's doing fentanyl daily, I'm going to try to get you into the Ibogaine clinic sooner rather than later because of the, you know, but let's say, you know, I a lot of people come to me with things that actually the only thing bad, quote unquote, about their habit is them beating themselves up for it. The whole thing is not even bad. It's just their narrative, you know? And so first I was like, you know, focus on creating new coping skills. Focus on creating new things and finding new outlets and things that you enjoy. And then if this thing is not meant to be in your life, I promise it will just slowly fall out of your life. You don't even have to try. You just like stop thinking about it, right? And so, and when we approach it that way, and it's not about the shame thing, we easily hold on to these new habits because we created those habits out of self-love. When I stop smoking, I'm not going to need Nicorette gum. I'm not going to need to vape. I'm not going to need any of that stuff because that's not what it's about. And my life has so many other outlets and fulfilling things that I don't need. I don't depend on any one thing to fill me up or to help pass my time or whatever the thing is, you know, and that's what it's about, really like putting all of your eggs in multiple baskets. So if something were to happen to the one, you're not fucked, right? Like if I get clean and I put all my eggs into the basket of working out and now I get into a car accident, what do you think? Good chance I'm going to end up relapsing on the pain medication that you know what I mean? Because it's all like my eggs were just in that basket.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's like spreading, it's like having multiple interests and like playing into your multi-diversity, because if you just put everything in one thing, it's like once that's gone, then you don't know who you are anymore.
100%.
And I really like what you said too about like having that competition with yourself. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't have to be forever. Maybe I just need to go this weekend. Maybe I just need to do this. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with alcohol. Is like I told myself I want to try to go a year without drinking. And so January will be 1 year without drinking. And so I'm like, I got this. Like, you know.
Exactly. I call it running the experiment. I consider myself a scientist who experiments on myself. Like
all the time.
Everything I do. It's just run the experiment, right? It's the all or nothing, the forever mentality that keeps us stuck many times, especially you know, like I said, when we consider time and stuff, and once I'm just like, no, I just try this today or just in this moment or whatever the thing is. And I just consider it an experiment. And I'm just kind of taking notes and I'm playing and flirting with whether or not I want to adopt this new thing or let go of this thing. And it takes the pressure off.
1000%.
All right. So yeah, guys, check. I'm gonna put Amanda's information down in the description below. Of course, Taylor's as well. If you need either just shadow workers, or if you are somebody that it wants to cut something out and needs extra support, Amanda could help you out. Check her out. And at the moment, you are doing free consultations.
I am right now. Yes, I cannot take on any new clients until December. However, what I am doing is I'm still doing consultations. So at the very least, I can kind of get some background and set you up with some tools that you can use right away until we're able to actually work together.
Perfect. Yeah, I like this approach of just support, not shaming. Because shaming is what ironically,
it's the same cycle. It's a shame.
It's just like, don't drink, but be ashamed of what?
It's like, why?
Yep. Because it's the shame that makes me want to drink, and then I drink because I'm ashamed, and it's like just this spiral.
It's so proper care is very, very important as far as I'm concerned, and I'm very, very, very grateful there are human beings out there on this planet that are currently doing such work. I feel like there's not enough at all. But more and more people will understand the need for it. More and more people will step up and do this kind of work, hopefully. Okay, so a topic that I also wanted, I don't want to go too crazy with our time, but I wanted to I guess put a bunch of stuff, what we could fit. Let's see how it goes. I don't know, after this topic. But so I wanted to bring up bullying, and specifically, as children. This goes into adulthood as well, but as children especially. So whenever somebody's getting bullied, chances are you're bullying an autistic person or a neurodivergent person. Again, to me, it's a spectrum, etc. The deeper you are, the more chances that you are being bullied. For example, for me, I've always been bullied. I've always been the weird kid, the one that doesn't either speak enough or whatever, or is just weird and this and that and da. Always bullied, just the way I express myself, this, that, whatever, there's just something I just wanted to I guess get into and see if you guys have any experience or opinion with the subject.
Yeah. I was bullied a lot.
Mhm.
Like a
Yeah.
lot. And it's interesting because a lot of the bullying that happened for me was sexual assault between
Mm.
boys. And so it's interesting because, as we know now, like people with a lot of sexual energy are healers. And
Mhm.
so it makes a lot of that make sense for me. Obviously, bullying and sexual assault is fucked up either way, but like
Right,
it
right.
makes sense why, like, I was always like, why me? Like, I didn't do anything. Like, I was just the quiet kid, like, sitting there. Like, why am I being targeted, you know?
Right.
But so it was a lot of that, and just I think because I felt very like weird and different from people, I felt like I couldn't stand up for myself because I'm like, well, who am I to like stand up for me, or you know what I mean? And so I just kind of like let it happen,
Mhm.
um, because I was afraid to say something. So I have a lot of experience
Mhm.
with bullies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same. On both accounts, definitely for guys, I've been sexually assaulted at least a dozen times, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times by guys that I considered friends.
Yep.
Girls, and it's funny because as much as like those are probably more intense, quote unquote, I guess, outward appearing situations, I had just expected it of guys again. So it's like I just like let it happen and it just became like a normal thing to me. Not to mention the first time I was sexually assaulted was by a family member when I was younger. And so actually what I learned from that experience was I actually was more traumatized by the cops arresting this person
Mm-hmm.
than the sexual assault itself. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
and well, it was more like molestation, right? So
Yeah.
so that didn't traumatize me. I was just trying to figure out what was going on when I said something, and that person getting arrested was what traumatized me. So of course,
Yeah.
anytime after that, I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want anybody to get in trouble. But
Yep.
the girls, man, oh, good God. The girls are pain because I would trust them. Like I
Mm.
definitely have some past
Yep.
life coven wound stuff. And these girls, and I live in a small town out in Wisconsin, and they bully like they're in like freaking like West Coast Orange County high school. Like they are just vindictive. I mean, I had petitions made to get me kicked out of school. I had oh my God, my house was always egged. People threatened to set my house on fire and to kill me. I used to write in a notebook to God every day just to get through the day.
Yeah.
And they stole my notebook during a volleyball game, wrote back to me pretending to be God, and were like, "Dear Amanda, this is God. If you just go kill yourself, like maybe you'd have more friends." And yeah, like just awful. And then of course, because of the guys, then I was like a slut, even though I was like never at. And so
Yep.
that was always a hard one. It was very confusing because I've always felt very asexual. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
hypersexual as a child because of the sexual assault stuff, but I was very like cut off, like yeah, just didn't get it. I didn't even know what horny was until I met my partner. Like I always thought that was somebody just saying, I want validation, not like
Mm-hmm.
a physical feeling. And then I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit, that's what that is. That's like in my body. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely very challenging. I mean, for this is why, like, of course, like I said, once I got to the point where I was in high school and I could like, because it all really changed in middle school. Elementary school, I would say I was the bridge. I was the one that was friends with everybody and I could help everybody be friends. I got in trouble in elementary school because I wouldn't turn in homework, but all of the other disabled kids would turn their homework in my handwriting because I would do their homework for them so that they would pass, but I wouldn't do mine because I was like, no, that shit's stupid. I don't get it.
Yeah.
So I was always in trouble with teachers, like elementary school, but in middle school is when it really shifted. And yeah, God, I was very suicidal from like
Yeah.
fifth grade until probably until I met heroin. Like heroin actually, like I said, and that's what I try to help people encourage to look at too with their drug of choice is like good or bad, for better or worse, let go of what anybody else thinks. At that point in my life, it saved me, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it did, it could have killed me at some point, absolutely, but
Yeah.
at that point I literally did heroin as a suicide attempt, so like there's so many times in people's lives where when they're in that active addiction that it's the one thing keeping them going, and so
Yeah.
like thank God for that until we can give you other things in your life to keep you going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times, well, there were several times where just their being direct would piss people off into like physical altercation. Just like, yo, what's your problem?
Yeah,
I'm
right.
just like not sugarcoating things. You want to be violent with me? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a, I mean, I kind of like, I'm not gonna even go into any of it. I just, don't want to, but really fucked up fucking shit, man. Just fucking stop, just constant. Like, holy fuck balls. Fuck. I'm sorry, I'm not like you.
Yeah.
You want me dead?
To that point where it's like, what in the world? And it'd be so confusing, especially like when you talk about the naivety or just like the fact that we come from other. I was so confused. Like I just was like, especially when you're just in that transition where hormones become a thing and you're like, we were just having sleepovers. How are we here? And then of course they said it'd be confusing too, because it would like, they'd make it be about boys, but I like was kind of a tomboy. So I hung out. It just was so confusing. And this is when I really was like, dude, I live on the opposite side of a mirror. Like there's no way I'm either a ghost or like I don't like, I must not exist. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's confusing. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, the confusion is a big part because like to me, like I was always kept to myself. I'm like, what did I do? I don't even talk to anybody. Like, how could you be even like thinking these things or saying these? Like, I don't get it.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And it doesn't matter how many times your mom tell you they're just jealous. You're like, they're not fucking jealous. But like it is that kind of a thing. And it's not that they're consciously aware of it being jealousy, but like we provoke them. We are authentic in a way that they can't be, or like, yeah. So yeah, but of course I said at that age, nobody can tell you anything. You're just like, you don't know what you're just saying that because you're my mom, or you're just saying that because, you know what I mean? Like, couldn't tell me nothing.
I feel like that's more needs to be said. It's they could either be jealous or they're just projecting their own pain. Exactly. Which doesn't always have to be jealousy.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Person's hurting. Somebody's hurting them. Therefore, they're hurting you. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Hurt people.
Yep.
All the time.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so we were talking about scheduling earlier. I know we probably had enough of that kind of conversation, but I do have it written down over here. I guess I wanted to talk a little more about like how I work things. Like what I realized really works really well for me is having a day to make sure I'm not doing anything at all. Which doesn't mean that I also can't, because if I feel like doing like, say, a podcast episode or whatever, I'm gonna do it. So it's not about like abstaining completely. It's about, this is a day of, if you don't want to do shit, you don't do shit, period. If you want to literally melt into the fucking couch or the bed or whatever, that's what you're gonna do. Sunday. So like Monday will be, I do this or whatever, and it'll be something small, Tuesdays when I kind of like really start to ramp stuff. Like the Monday is like small, but like I'll do like, let's say I might do like some errands. So Sunday's nothing. Monday's like small, but like errands as well. Or also have that off if I feel like it or if I need it or whatever. Tuesday will be like more errands or whatever, and it'll be the day of exercise. Mind you, like on the weekends I'll do physical stuff as well. So like it's not only one day a week I'm doing this, but it's just like something like this is what's up. So Sunday nothing, Monday maybe nothing but errands. Tuesday again errands and workout. Wednesday is like, let's say, clients day. Thursday could be this, that, and the other, and Friday could be clients day. Like Saturday is this, and like Friday, whatever. So it's just like this whole thing where my point is that you definitely always get a rest. There's some kind of thing of the routine. There's a routine thing, like, okay, so like there's always a rest, and there's also the routine support situation. And I feel like life becomes less confusing, or it became less confusing to where, like, I don't need to like, oh my God, I missed day. And there's no more confusion. Like, this is the day I see, these kinds of people. This is the day I do this kind of stuff. So to me, that just kind of really, really worked. I guess I just wanted to kind of cover that. There's other stuff. but I feel like we've been talking long enough. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we nailed it because we
I
kind of
think
like
we got
covered
it.
all of it within all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. I guess I'm gonna end this with asking you ladies one more time to like give a description of what you offer to the world. Taylor, you first.
Yeah, sure. So right now I have like a 3 month container where we work one on one and we go through all of the lower chakras because a lot of people are very much in their head, anxiety kind of driven, and so we start in the Earth Star and we work our way up and come home to the heart. And so it's all about like meeting your shadows, doing parts work, meeting your different parts, balancing like the masculine and feminine energies, and really just getting to know yourself and integrating like any trauma or kind of reprogramming patterns that aren't helping you get to where you want to go and that sort of thing. So that's kind of my jam. And so you can reach out to me at Taylor Alina on Instagram or my website lovebytheuniverse.com.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Yeah.
Amanda.
My name is Amanda Ray. I am a psychedelic integration coach. I specialize in alternative recovery. You can find me on TikTok or Instagram at cosmic soul _guide. Otherwise, my website is harmonyIam.com. Same thing, my email is harmonyIamcoaching@gmail. And yeah, let me know if you guys need just any help, support, advice. I'm here for it.
Sweet. To touch on Taylor, you said you're working with the lower chakras. I feel like neurodivergent folks, especially the deeper you go into like being present in the world, whatever, has to do with the need. I feel like the support of those lower chakras. So definitely thank you for doing that. And I know yours and all of our work will continue to grow and change, and depending on what we feel called to do. So depending on when you guys see this, they probably might be offering different things, maybe not, etc., etc. But yeah, so it's interesting. I had what am I gonna call it? We're calling them what, downloads nowadays.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or, you know what, I'm gonna call it a realization because that's what it felt like more to me. Not to say it wasn't a download, but like it was just like a eureka moment, whatever words you want to use.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is like a couple of weeks ago. I'm sitting there and I became fully aware of my consciousness in a different way than before. So here's what I noticed, and I actually made a podcast episode while this was happening. I was like, oh, I need to record this. And I was like, holy shit, this is good. Okay, so it was about I'm gonna call it a theory of how neurodivergent individuals. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just something that happened, and I was like, holy shit, I think this might be what's going on. So I have a feeling that neurodivergent individuals, not all, but a lot of us, that have issues with being grounded. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I noticed that I am experiencing the world with a compensation with my crown chakra for my root chakra, as in what goes on with the root chakra for most people. My brain or whatever, my energetic system or wiring has compensated to where I'm experiencing with the crown chakra. And I go deeper into it in my podcast episode, which will be released, I guess, after this is released in November 7th, or whenever the Monday for November, early November 2022, whatever. But yeah, I talk about it there. Yeah, really interesting theory. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, check it out.
I do. That makes a lot of sense because I get this like there's some of us that I'd like, that's the best way to put this. Like there's some of us that are coming and some of us that are going. And even in terms like with the Kundalini stuff, some people's Kundalini arises from down here. Like mine came in through my crown and poured down.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. And so it's like, I see it as you're talking, like this energy is like, there's like we're coming, you know what I mean? And like other people are, it's like a coming and going, but it's not like that anybody's actually coming or going. We're meeting in like this middle ground, right? But that just makes sense to me. That resonates a lot. And like, cause I like, as I'm coming more and more into my lower chakras and kind of like out, but that, yeah, nope, that just, I think you're onto something. I see it too. When you were saying it, I was getting the image and I was like, oh, that makes sense with the other things that you were seeing.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of times, neurodivergent people, they have really blown open crown chakras. And so a lot of times, one of the things that I found helpful with a lot of my clients, because they're, most of them are neurodivergent too. Obviously, like attracts like, I don't know.
Right.
One of the things that I do is I actually have them close it sometimes, because sometimes it's so open that like it's very overwhelming and they can't like even be in their body if they wanted to. So I'm like, hey, let's try this. Let's just close it for a minute. They're like, holy shit. They're like, that makes such a difference. I'm like, I know. Sometimes it's just like the simplest things.
I had to realize I could do that because mine would get that way too. And then I'm like, oh, I've got like, because especially in a crowded space, right?
Mostly
I'm
public
hearing everybody's thoughts and I'm like, whoa, bring it in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I can be open here. I can be open, like, So, and just knowing, some people just need to know we have the power to do that. Like you can say like, I want like,
I want to turn this
imagine
off
it. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
All about intention. Absolutely. So you guys, if you want to check out that episode, my podcast name is Greetings Earth Family. It's season 3, episode 4, 5. The word crown will be in there.
Look for the crown.
Probably crown chakra compensation or feeling ungrounded or crown chakra compensation, something along those lines.
Right.
The word crown will definitely be in it. It's already scheduled to post. I think all I know is the word crown is in it 100%. And what I do, just like these beautiful ladies, I do shadow work for people. Mine is in the form of QHHT, which stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. Just in case people are not familiar with it, but what we're actually doing is kind of traveling through the Akashic records of all that is you, and asking your higher self, your subconscious, whoever wants to step up to show us the things that need to be shown. For example, when was the first time you had this wound occur in your existence, and then we'll be taken there and we'll deal with it, etc., etc. Or if you have a decision that you want to make, that can help you, like, let's say, do I take this job or do I take this job? And like we'll look at both, in session, we'll look at both scenarios and you'll know which one you prefer because you're there in these both situations. So those are examples of there's other things that could be done in a QHHT session. Other things that I offer to people is so I speak to parents that have autistic children, neurodivergent autistic, as a bridge. So if you don't understand, or if like your family member, you have family that has autistic children, and you just want to like understand their children or whatever. Basically, I could tell you what's going on, how this autistic child is, or that neurodivergent child is feeling, what their needs are, etc., etc. Basically, because they're not expressing how much they're hurting doesn't mean that they're not hurting. Not being able to communicate with you like you're able to communicate with other people is very, very painful. The loneliness is extremely, extremely painful. And I always forget the things that I offer. What else do I offer? I offer a bunch of other things. I'm gonna put my link tree down below, and if you want to check out my stuff, a bunch of stuff. Anyway, a podcast, if you like spiritual info, etc., etc. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to our wisdom, really. Thank you. And
nice.
Ladies, thank you so much for your time, for being here, and thank you.
Thank you, ladies. We finally did it. We
finally did it. It took us a while to get together, but we're here.
We did it. We did it. All right.
Bye.
Adios. Bye.